We should be, yeah, I think.
Yeah, anybody in the shop is not here anymore, so we shouldn't have any noise on our end here. Make sure I don't hang myself on my damn headphone cord.
Huh? Come on, Ben.
Hello, come on, man. I'm gonna watch your ears. Fucking everything up over here. Go ahead. I don't want to mess up my head. Watch your ears, dudes.
Slap.
Yeah, that was our fancy clapper.
Did you guys get that little plate we lasered too?
We got the black center cap and the silver shorter center cap. I didn't see a plate though.
There should have been.
Is it
on
a
the very
separate
bottom.
box?
Bottom of the box.
Bottom of the box.
That one we lasered for quite some time to give it some depth, so you can see how cool that laser is.
Yeah, it turned out awesome. Freaking love them.
That round plate that we did is about 6, 7, 8 inches in diameter, something like that.
Yeah, we found him. We found him. Ben tried throwing the box away.
I did not. That was not me. I got a little excited.
Yeah, one side's just an outline, and the other side is like a deep engrave.
Oh yes, yes. That's awesome. I feel like we need to make this like a necklace, like a Flavor Flav necklace.
Yeah.
We get a chain for this thing. That's awesome.
Like Flavor Flav?
Yeah. Flavor Flav.
Oh, I got to.
All the flavors. Good thing Alan went to the bathroom right now, so you guys could, so the toilet flush wasn't on the podcast. He's probably gonna come out here and start talking, probably eat some fucking chips too on his way out.
That would have been actually hilarious if we heard a toilet flush during the podcast.
Oh, you could totally hear it. I called down and chatting with Steve last week, and Blake was in there doing something in the morning, and all of a sudden you hear the fucking toilet. And Blake shitting it. He's like, "Oh yeah, man."
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And everybody knows the DDC.
Yeah. All right. Here's the editor's notes. Man, I was gonna sneeze. Now we're good. Okay, Chris, this is your editor's notes when you're listening to this tomorrow. Serial number ADP 22013 as an America's Diesel podcast. 22013. Today is March 23rd. It is Wednesday, my dude. This is DDC's podcast episode 2. This is to air next week on the 31st, I think. What the fuck it is? I'll look at calendar real quick here. Yeah. March 31st, projected air date. All right. So I had to get that part out of the way for the editor guys, just in case they don't get anything else. They at least got the audio notes there. All right. Okay, final check. Everybody's good to go? Everybody happy?
Yep.
Yep, we're good.
Subjective, right?
All good.
You know, but, all right. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is Ben and Tyler from America's Diesel Podcast coming at you with another one of our fancy special episodes. As you saw in the title, we've got some other guys on the line here, but we've got DDC, that's Dually Design Co. in for episode number 2. We've got lots of questions to answer. We've got some topics to go over.
Questions to ask.
Questions to ask from you, the listeners. If you didn't put your questions in, that's your own fault because I asked you twice. Almost thrice, but I only did twice. That was for you, Corey. I said thrice. So let's get this intro out of the way. Thank you for tuning in for America's Diesel Podcast. You can find us on all your normal podcast venues. That's Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us on there by searching America's Diesel Podcast. You can also find us on the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, the TikToks, all that kind of good stuff by searching, you guessed it, America's Diesel Podcast. We also put this on YouTube, so if you have any comments you want to leave or get the discussion going, we do have YouTube going there. We have some usual suspects that chime in every week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty on this one. Tyler, reviews.
Reviews. Keep those reviews coming in. We are moving up in the ranks, and it's awesome to see that happening. So on any of the platforms that Ben mentioned earlier, screenshot that and send it to podcast@dieselpowerproducts.com. Make sure to include a picture of your truck and an address that we can send a sticker to that looks just like the logo on this DDC center cap on the center of our table. In fact, it kind of looks like, when you look at it it kind of looks like a trophy.
It does. Yeah.
The way we have it all.
Yeah. Lastly, if you need parts for your diesel pickup, make sure and check out dieselpowerproducts.com. Website is open 24/7. Otherwise, phone sales, text, are on the phone 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. If you are a listener and you're buying parts, make sure and let them know so we can add a podcast note to the order. That way we can tally them all up and make sure that we are actually doing this stuff for a reason because people are buying parts. At the end of the day, money makes the world go round, boys. And honestly, baller juice ain't free.
No.
Shit. Got to buy it somehow. And I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. You can really help us out. We are trying to pump up our Instagram numbers. We do go live every Wednesday, either before or in between when we film episodes. So if you want to have a beer with the boys and get some questions answered, do that. So let's get into this episode. On this episode, we have Blake, Steve, and Ryan from Dually Design Co. How's it going, boys?
What up, everybody?
Doing good. Doing great. Thanks for asking, man.
Yeah. So if you heard some doors opening and shutting in the background there for a minute there, it's not because you're going crazy. There was someone walking around doing some. Which one of you was it?
It wasn't me. I'm sitting here watching TV.
All right. Someone was disrupting
was
my
Ryan.
intro, and I'm going to find out who it was. Because that was one of my best.
I was sitting on my hands. It wasn't me.
All right. So last time we talked, it was, what was it, like November, December, something like that? Yeah. So that was last year, 2021. What's new with DDC, guys?
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of stuff coming down the pipe. I did all the talking last time, by the way. This is Blake. I'm the mouth from the south, the north, the east, and the west. I never shut the fuck up. So I'm gonna let these guys do the talking this time. And I'm gonna just try to compliment the guys rather than take over the whole conversation. So Ryan, Steve, there you go.
Yeah. Well, definitely don't want the mouth of the south taking over the podcast.
It might be pretty interesting if he does though.
Yeah. One of the cool new things we definitely have in the pipe, and Blake and Steve have been working their butts off to get all set up and working with the programming of it. And you guys, we sent you a couple samples. This is our new laser engraver for our caps. It's pretty cool. I'll let Steve and Blake actually, touch on it and kind of what they went through and what it's all about.
I guess just a couple things. I guess as far as what we do any logo of your choosing. Size wise, we can get it pretty much to the outer diameter of a 8-lug cap, which is about 7.5 inches. And we just need a good AI file. And once we get all that, then we would basically just run a sample on a piece of aluminum, show it to you, kind of show you what it'll look like on the cap. You guys give us a go, then we start going on the caps. So kind of straightforward, but pretty cool.
And as you guys know, you've got the part sitting in front of you. We did a black part for you. We did a polished part. By the way, sorry about the polished one. That was just kind of a cap we had around here. We've been experimenting with, so it's got a bunch of scratches, but we just wanted to go ahead and toss your logo on it, see what you guys think. So what are your guys' thoughts on the way that laser looks?
Honestly, it's freaking epic. I mean, for one, just the sheer size that you could get your logo on your wheel is badass.
Yeah, for a lot of these guys that are using their trucks for work, because honestly, most guys that drive a dually, a lot of them are using it for work. As far as that next step, as far as branding your truck to what you have on there, like that's we're not talking, ladies and gentlemen, about like a small sticker the size of like the top of a beer can.
Yeah.
When it's not until you actually hold one of these caps in your hand, you realize it's a freaking dinner plate.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
Yeah.
I freaking love it.
You'd be kind of, remiss not to do that.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. It's just like what Ben was saying, as far as for promoting your business or our podcast. It's great. It's a great option to go with, and it's like I said, I was shocked at. I don't know if I've ever really looked at a DDC center cap that closely to like realize the size of it, but it's pretty awesome. I think you guys hit the nail on the head with that, and offering that to customers is badass.
I think it's going to be even better once we start getting more people that are wanting to do all the different kinds of logos. Because right now we only did a handful, right? Yours is probably pretty close to the most intricate, but I think Ryan's got another one now that it looks like it's going to take 30 minutes to do, but I think it's going to be really killer, which is the whole point for it. Do something that the other guys aren't doing, number one, but more importantly, these customers are guys that paid for their wheels, right? They should have on their cap whatever they want on it. They want
Yeah.
our logo on it, perfect. We can either laser our logo, their logo, whatever they want.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
the
think-
level of detail is insane. Like not to cut you off there, sorry, but like I'm just looking at like the detail on the headphones on the Eagle. Like you got those little fine lines in there. You got the fine lines on the nose or on the beak and everything. That's blows my mind.
Yeah.
It definitely makes it pop. That's for sure. I think a lot of people like to, outside, Tyler, you mentioned promoting your company or whatever it may be, whether it's a contractor, you name it. I think people like the fact that they can personalize, the overall look of their wheel to fit their truck. And we all know how people like their trucks,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What? So is there an additional cost that goes along with that, or what?
Yeah. So for $100, we will take a new cap and laser into each of the caps for you, ship them to you for $100. So it's just times that by $400 delivered to your door.
Nice. And so that's whether they have, even if they purchased dually designed wheels in the past, they can still get engraved caps for them. They just got to tell you what kind of wheels they have, and you can get new caps and engrave them.
Absolutely.
That's bitch.
Right on.
And not only that, all the wheels use the same caps, right? Whether they're the 8-lug wheels, they all have the same, and then the 10-lug wheels, they all have the same the caps. So, yeah, they have a black one, they have a polished one. They want to put different colors, different logos, no problem. Call us up and order away.
Right on.
Side note there, they all have the same caps. I know that may seem like a very simple thing to say now, but like on this side of the counter, selling other brands of wheels, sometimes when someone needs a center cap, it's like, great. I'm going to get this wrong 4 times. I know. I know we're going to be shipping stuff back and forth, but like you guys have talked before about that too. Keep it simple, stupid. That methodology,
Right.
make a really high quality product, but keep it simple. That from sales guy standpoint, much appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the customer to call up and say, you have a polished wheel or a black wheel, you get the answer. You have an 8-lug wheel or a 10-lug wheel, you get the answer. We know what your cap is, right? Is it a front or a back? Boom, we ship it. Takes 30 seconds. Like you said, every wheel out there every design seems to have its own cap, which is an absolute pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
Not
what
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way down from our our single part number, our single pricing. It's okay, 22-inch. It's X amount of dollars. Doesn't matter if it's polished or black and milk. Everything we've done has been trying to simplify the process.
Yeah, for sure.
And you guys absolutely have. Now, I know I've got a list of we've have some itinerary that we got to go over here, and this is the big one. This is what we got questions on, and we are going to answer questions later on and whatnot. But we did talk about super singles last episode. What's going on with super singles?
Oh yeah, what's going on with those?
I probably have the most info. Again, this is a guy that's the mouth of the South that wants to try to shut up. But they're prototypes for the aftermath. We should have in our hands probably in about 2.5, 3 weeks, which means that the tooling is already built, the casting's already done, the testing has started specifically for the aftermath. That one's going to be first. The whole will come second after that. That's probably going to be about 45 more days. And then the 10 is going to be after that, probably about 90 days-ish. All of these are subjective to what's going on currently right now, but the aftermath is done. We'll have some pictures probably for you guys. I would say no more next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We'll have actual prototype pictures for you.
Epic.
I know Tyler's
Epic.
excited. Tyler,
My
I'd
pants
say
are tight.
yeah, at least once a week. Tyler's like, "Hey man, you heard anything?" I know they would email us both, but for some reason, you heard anything? You let me know. Tyler, we're on the same thread.
Yeah, I finally broke down. I was like, I was just gonna message Ryan. I just gotta know. I gotta know. I'm just staring at my stock truck out there, going, I really want some super single fronts on this thing.
I figured when I sent you our latest data sheet, you were going to call back and be like, "Hey man, the super singles aren't on there."
Yeah. No, I was looking for him because I was looking at a previous email thread. I think you and Josh were talking about adding the super single part numbers, and I was looking for him. And I was like, "Oh no, where are they? Like, I want to put them on now." And then I messaged you, and you're like, "Oh, they're still coming." I was like, "Okay, I'll hold off. I'll be patient."
Yeah, we'll get that data over to you guys pretty soon.
Hell yeah.
And a little bit with that one too, just so you guys know, and so the listeners know as well, we've actually, for that particular wheel, we had to make 3 different caps for it. And the reason is now 3 different diameters. The cap design is the same, but the diameters are different, and it's all based on your bolt pattern. So, kind of stepping on what I said earlier about all the caps are the same. That they are in terms of pricing and all of that stuff and what they fit on. But this particular wheel, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but when you go super single, you have to take off the factory dually adapter that's on your truck.
Mhm.
And on multiple trucks that you do this on, you take that factory adapter off, and it now changes the bolt pattern. Now the bolt pattern on the front does not match the bolt pattern on the rear.
Mm.
So you have to have a different bolt pattern on the front of your vehicle when you're running a super single, which if it's a smaller or bigger bolt pattern means that the cap is going to look a little bit different, right? So for 8 lug stuff, it's pretty simple, but for the 10 lug is where it gets a little hairy. And I'll give you an example. Not that the numbers matter too much, but your F450s and 550s and Ram 45 and 5500s, the factory bolt pattern is a 10 on 225 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pull that factory adapter off to put a super single on the front, it's now a 10 on 170 millimeter.
Oh.
So it's quite a bit smaller, and the cap's going to be quite a bit smaller. So imagine just your regular Super Duty that's 8 on 170. Well, in a dually F450 or 550, now it's a 10 on 170.
It's gonna look weird. That's a
Well,
lot of lug nuts in a small area.
Yeah.
It is. It's going to look a little weird, but it's going to take about 5 minutes before you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
But that's the reason for it, right? That's some of the hiccups and the stuff that we've had to go through. And by the way, with these aluminum caps, we have to tool up for all of that. So, just the cap tooling is quite expensive to make a different size cap.
I never would have thought that the bolt pattern would have actually have been different between what was on the outside of the dually adapter and the truck itself. Like
Yeah.
I truly had no. The only dually adapter experience I have is very old, and it's like on an OBS forward Dana 60, which obviously was the same bolt pattern inside and out, so no one cared about that.
Yeah.
But I would have had, if someone would have called me and said, "Oh, it's a bolt pattern," that's the same, dude. I just would have totally assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the same as it would be like a 3/4 ton or a single rear tire 1 ton. So like you go back to the 80180s, 806 snaps, and 80170s.
Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but there's no other company that's doing super singles for dualies out there, is there? I don't think there is.
Other companies that are doing super singles?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody is.
Are they? I've never seen
Yeah.
any. I've never seen a truck with some.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Force guys and the other, high-end Forge guys are doing it. Fuel, they do some, but it's kind of a different customer, right? I mean, a super single guy, it's definitely aesthetics because it doesn't perform any better. Matter of fact, it performs worse.
Yeah.
Just from a turning radius standpoint, you're going to learn lose turning radius just by putting the super single on it, and it drives completely different. So it's really an aesthetics thing. So it depends on what the guy's wanting for. Does he just want to make his dually look badass and he doesn't really use it that much, or is it a guy that's hot shotting or driving all over the country and really using it? Then he's going to want to stick with the traditional dually wheel, at least in our experience talking to guys.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I am relatively green as far as super singles in general. So is there, and not to like, I know we just talked about with it being aesthetic or anything like that. Is there anything a super single will do in a certain area better than a regular dually wheel?
In my opinion, on a dually, no.
Just a look.
Mm-hmm.
Purely the look.
So compared to every truck in your guys' parking lot, Brian, Coop, you guys, it's basically just a single rear wheel truck wheel. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But with us, of course, it's a little bit different because we've got the 10 bolts and you do spikes and all those things on that wheel as well. So it'll match what you've got going on in there.
I would have figured that maybe at least with like a little bit wider tire and contact patch or something like that, it would have been like,
like at least one benefit.
Yeah.
Other than looks. But hey, I'm down.
I mean, there's a lot of things I do in my life that make absolutely no sense, but I like them and I'm gonna keep doing them. So.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I tell a lot of people is if you want it to drive as good as stock, leave it stock.
Yeah.
Right? Those engineers are a lot smarter than us idiots out here that are putting wheels on this stuff, right? So those guys know what they're doing, and then all of a sudden we're going to take off their factory adapters and put other, crazy tires on it. So it's going to, not only is it going to, it does drive completely different. It doesn't feel like a dually anymore, except for now you've got 4 tires in the back pushing the 2 tires in the front. It's doing the same thing regardless of dually wheel or super single, but it just steers completely different. Like a great example. I had a truck that had super singles on the front, not our wheels. When I first bought the truck, it had another brand on it, super singles on the front. and dualies on the back. And as soon as I pulled those off, when I go to steer the truck, I literally had to use both hands. I put them off. I put our wheels on it, the dually adapters and our wheels back on it. I could steer the truck with one finger. So just how it turns is completely different, right? The ease of turning.
Which goes back to that contact patch that you were just speaking of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as weight, what are you looking at as far as different weight? And like obviously tires are going to play a factor as well, but do super singles typically weigh more than a normally dually wheel? Well, because you're losing the adapter too, I guess. Is it usually like a kind of a wash and weight package, or loss or gain?
Yeah, I don't think the wheel's not any heavier. Matter of fact, if anything, the wheel's a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then because the dually wheel is so far offset, there's quite a bit of aluminum in it, the way that it's built versus a single rear wheel. So it's really going to be apples and oranges. I mean, we could weigh it for you if we really need to know the answer. It's actually a good question because I don't really know. Is it 5 pounds less or is it 5 pounds more? My gut tells me it's going to be less overall because you're taking off a factory adapter and you're putting a wheel on there that's a little bit lighter than a factory dually wheel. So I'd say you're going down in weight.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you there. I would say it's down. I'm not gonna. I would say it's probably not like extraordinary. Like you're not dropping like 90 pounds or something like that. But it's I would say it's definitely on the. It's definitely not more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would assume if it was a gut, and Steve, maybe you guessed too, Ryan. I would say 10 pounds ish. I mean, because the wheels are going to be 3 or 4 pounds different, and that's a lot for a wheel. And then whatever the adapter weighs, right? So I would guess 10ish.
Yeah, your typical 22 10 and a half is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 55 pounds, which is pretty similar to our front wheel. But then you're going to obviously lose the adapter, so you're going to be within 5 pounds, I would say.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Sure.
So you guys are doing the 22 by 11s. Is that, and again, I'm super green to super single. So is that like a standard super single size?
Not standard at all. Nobody else is doing it. We're the only ones doing 11s. Most of them are doing 12s.
Okay.
Some guys are doing 10 and a halves or 10s. We just picked 11 because we think it's going to look better aesthetically with the offset that we put on it. It's not going to be too far out. It's not going to be too far in.
Mm-hmm.
So an 11 is exclusive. I don't want to say exclusive. We just decided to do an 11 and nobody else is doing that.
I dig it.
Fair enough.
And if you want to get a hold of some super singles, what's the best way to do it right now? I know that we just talked about them having a lead time and whatnot, but
They're not ready yet, Ben.
I know they're not ready. But I'm trying to get you guys to take your pre-orders now, right?
We'll get some static images for you guys pretty quick to share, but yeah, we'll do a couple test fits and then probably release data, pricing, and kind of timeframes from there. Like Blake said, we're not too far out at all.
Cool.
Gotcha. All right. Next point on the list here. So by the time this episode comes out, what we're about to talk about will already be active, only by a couple of days, because this is coming out on the 31st. But you guys have a pretty decent sale coming up, right?
Yeah, pretty excited about it. One of our newest designs, we decided to stock up and bring in some to basically go after the market pretty hard, and we want to offer some extra discounts and save some people some money during the tax season. So from March 28th to April 29th, we're going to do 10% off the price of the wheel package. So it should work out pretty good for people to save a lot of money during that time.
Yeah, I mean that's at minimum like probably $225, $250 at least, $300.
About $300.
Yeah, it'd be like on 20s, it'd be like $370, and on 22s, it'd be about $400. We figure that's a lot of fuel back in the tanks with the prices these days.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Well, and especially
I would say this is the wheel that we were just getting in the last time we had a conversation on the first podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We only had a part number or two that was kind of trickling in, and now we're we obviously like Ryan said, we anteed up to the pump and ordered a bunch of them to get to the market during the big season, which usually launches March, April. So we're loaded up. We're good. We're ready to go.
And it is hands down, that is my favorite design. We talked about that in the last podcast too. When that came out, it is 10,000% my favorite style of wheel. My genre of truck. I'm a square body Ford or OBS Ford kind of guy. Like that's kind of where I venture to. But I feel like that style looks good on every truck. Every fucking truck out there, the whole looks good.
Yes. It does. Now, I got a question.
Okay, strap. Sit down, boys. Take your
Everybody
shoes
sit-
off. Tyler's got a real question for you. Okay.
Was there any urge to?
I can't watch this.
Oh God.
Oh, I can't wait.
Was there any urge to call that wheel the glory hole?
I would say no.
I'm sorry.
I'll go on a limb and say no. Not a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna second what Steve said.
Or maybe like hole of glory. I mean, I don't know. You can move them around.
So
That's pretty funny.
clearly.
So Blake's kind of quiet right now.
Yeah.
Blake.
No, it's pretty funny actually. It's the holes just the hole and the 10 just come from like, what do we call it? I don't know. It's 10 spokes. Let's call it the 10. What do we call that wheel? I don't know. It's got holes in it. Let's call it the hole. It's really that simple.
Okay.
Right? The whole thing is supposed to be simple, even down to naming the wheels.
All right.
But the
I don't
glory
like that.
hole, that's a good one. If we want to start that rumor, sure. We'll see Blake do it.
I mean, I will say it's a glorious wheel.
I mean, you could do some posts, some Facebook or Instagram posts like, you won't feel as glorious without the hole.
There's your April Fool's post right there. Like a hole with a whole bunch of like photoshopped but blacked out images of like dildos or something like that. Like or like
Oh,
the whole
quick.
wheel in a
Wow.
bathroom stall or something. Glorious.
I didn't know we were having that kind of
Demonetized.
podcast. All right, jump in, everybody. Here we go.
There goes keeping the podcast PG.
Yeah. Well,
It's
Sally, close your ears.
it's a PG-17.
sorry, if kids these
Yeah,
days
funny.
don't know what a glory hole is. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
They have internet.
Yeah.
Like Blake said, we get people like calling it the Big 10, and we haven't had the big hole yet.
The big hole.
The big hole. I've got a set of big
man.
holes.
Yeah, people just name it. We're like, yeah, we know.
Oh, is everybody there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just kind of blacked out there for a second.
Oh, that was weird.
Think about
Anyways.
it. Holes and stuff.
Was Corey trying to edit out that whole part about the glory hole or what?
No, he's over there laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
Perfect. Carry on.
Oh God.
All right. Let's get this other part in here. So, new projects. So, I know that there's stuff that's new, but stuff that we can't necessarily talk about yet. And this is a little bit of a cliffhanger, but can you like shed some light?
Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's some cool stuff
we have
coming down the
yeah.
pipe. Some
Yeah,
really
we got
cool
some
stuff
good
coming
stuff.
down the pipe. Hang tight with us. Everybody's going to be excited. They're going to like it. It's going to be cool. I don't know how to say it without saying it, but yeah, there's some cool stuff coming. Some potential new designs coming. Maybe not potential. There's going to be, right. We just have to talk about how we're doing it, the whole thing. But really cool stuff.
Yeah, gotta get your
Yeah, we
cocktail
can
napkins
say
out.
more than 3 months, less than 6 probably.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this summer sometime it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it on the next podcast.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That's right. If you guys didn't know, we're doing 4 episodes of Dual Design Co. It's 1 per quarter. This is the second one, so we have 2 more to go.
Oh, right on.
So that means right about towards the right when you might be thinking about gearing up for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's about when our 4th episode is going to be probably touching on a little bit there. It's not going to be quite like the lead up because we always do a sale episode, like, hey, just so you guys know, a certain thing is going on sale. You have your usual hitters and whatnot, but usually if we tell people like if there's a certain brand that like never goes on sale, it's like, guys, like you guys, everybody asks, oh, this goes on sale, it's going on, yeah, do it now, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so are you guys ready to get in some questions?
Fire away.
Ready
Okay.
to go.
Let me bust some of these out real quick here. All right, so I did. I put a poll out there, not a poll, but a question for a whole bunch of our Instagram followers, and I did narrow them down a little bit. We have 7, and feel free to answer these as candidly or not candidly as you like, because I don't know if you've been watching our Instagram posts or whatnot, but people who listen to this podcast tend to keep it pretty real, and just like you guys, they don't do the bullshit too much, but we also do pitch each other a lot of shit, so. It's you're in the right club here. So question 1 is how bad is it to run a wheel narrower than the manufacturer recommends? As in, or also how important is a wheel, like the weight rating on the wheel?
So the first question, guys, you mind if I answer it? Steve, you want to hop
Sure.
in? Ryan, you want to hop in?
No, you can get this one.
Here we go. Here goes Mouth of the South again. Okay, so the first question is about running a narrower wheel than the factory recommends. I don't think anybody does that. It runs a narrower wheel than the factory recommends, right? Most everybody puts a bigger wheel on their truck, wider and larger diameter than factory, right?
Agreed.
Did I hear the question right, or did I?
I think the question is probably if the tire manufacturer says an 8.5 and we're at 8.25, is it bad? Is that the question?
I
That's
think
what
you could probably read into that.
Yeah.
I did pose the question to them though, guys, as like coming to the point where like we have 3 guys on the phone here that have an absolute shit ton of wheel experience, not just with dually stuff, but with wheels and tires in general. Obviously, we're specialized in dually stuff right now because of the podcast, but just keying in on your guys' just wealth of knowledge in this aspect.
Well, if we're going for what Steve said, so we'll go back to what initially I thought the question was. I don't think anybody's putting narrower tires or wheels or anything on their truck from factory. I think they're going the opposite way. If we go back to Steve's question, do we think that it's bad if we're putting a maybe a little bit wider tire on a little bit more narrow? Gee, I can't even talk.
I
More
messed it up too
narrow
earlier.
wheel?
I said,
How about that, rather than
yeah.
I think that obviously the tire manufacturers have the recommendations for the best performance of the tire, and not only the best performance in terms of braking and mileage, also fuel mileage and the whole thing, right? So dually wheels from the beginning, aftermarket dually wheels have always been 8.25 inches wide. Everybody's been running them since the beginning of time. So to have an answer to say that maybe running a little bit narrower tire or wider tire and a little bit narrower wheels going to hurt anything, it won't, but it will cost you performance in terms of how many miles you're going to get out of the tire, obviously, because the whole thing isn't touching the ground, and there's less of that tire again touching that ground for braking or whatever else. But bad, I don't think so. I see some dually trucks out there with some 30-inch wheels on them that have a load carrying capacity of probably about 1,200 pounds. I would say that's really bad, right? If they're going to use it, but just putting a tire on there that's a shade wider than what the manufacturer says, I don't think it's a problem.
And I'll add to that and say a couple things. One, the wheel that we were just talking about, the hole, we brought it out in an 8.5, and one of the reasons why is because of that exact reason. There are some shops, specifically say like Discount Tire, that will not mount a 12.5-inch tire on anything narrower than an 8.5-inch wheel. So therefore, now we have the hole at 8.5. So that's one aspect of it. Obviously, the other 2 wheel designs we have at 8.25. But the other aspect is like we say, you can go up to a 12.5-inch wide tire. That doesn't mean that's the only tire you should choose. We're saying that you can go to a 12.5-inch tire, and if you run 12.5-inch tires, you're going to have a very, very small gap in between the tires. So if you're concerned because you're towing super heavy and you're worried that the bulge is going to touch the tires, then go to a narrower tire. Go to a 295. And when you go to a 295, now you're stepping down from a 12.5-inch tire down to say an 11.75 or maybe a 12-inch tire. And some of those tires still say 8.5. But why would a 12.5-inch tire have an 8.5 and a 11.75-inch tire still have the same 8.5? You see where I'm going with that? So stepping down an extra 1/4 of an inch on what the tire manufacturer would say when you're stepping down 3/4 of an inch in the overall width of the tire, I think we're well within what those specs would be. The biggest thing is know what you want before you buy the tires, and know what those tires are. We specifically, the 3 of us guys know what we run, but we certainly don't know what every single tire, what the width is of those tires to 2/8 of an inch. And it does matter, because if you say, well, it says 12.5 on the sidewall, but we measured it's 12.75, well, that's not going to work. They are going to touch. So 12.5 is the absolute maximum that you can run.
Like Steve said, we always try to direct people. I mean, we know usually the tires we're going to recommend for the most part in the inflated sizes, but the inflated specs, Falcon's not one we don't recommend too often. People just don't ask about it. But when they do, we'll go to the site, look at it, and they have a 1250 wide tire that measures 13. And that's just not going to work, like Steve was talking about.
Gotcha. And I will say, the fact that you guys actually give a shit to even acknowledge that people get tires at Discount Tire and you want to make sure that they are able to get tires using your wheels. I appreciate that you guys are in touch that much with your consumer. Like, that's not trying to jock you guys super hard here. But that's
Well,
bad.
yeah, no, I mean, to the point where they're like, okay, we're doing 8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's solve that problem.
Also, it's at the hole, in my opinion, the best wheel you guys make.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The hole.
The hole.
Take it away, Tyler.
The glory hole.
Do you want to touch on as far as like weight ratings on stuff? Like how actually important?
It's pretty simple. The 8 lug stuff is more than capable of than what the vehicle's capable of as far as poundage. And then we had just reclassified all the 10 lug stuff to be good all the way up to an F550 as far as weight rating.
I got a question on the on your guys' let's say the 450 Power Stroke wheels, the ones that are actually 10 lug that are just bolt on. I know
Yes.
I've gotten a couple questions on customers because I know on the the trucks that are 8 lug that were, you guys are converting to a, simulated 10 lug with the spikes and the, and those options. Is there going to be options for lug covers for guys with 10 lugs, like with a 10 lug truck? I've gotten those questions a couple of times if someone wants a 2.5 inch spike on their 450.
So the answer right now is no.
Okay.
We're trying to come up with and the reason is because it's exposed, right? And
Right.
and they make spikes that you can actually put on the wheel. Other companies, for example, there's metal lugs. They make a lug nut that works in there, but the spike is so skinny, right? It's not big around like the other one that we put on there.
Yeah.
So to us, it just looks like shit, to be quite honest with you. So if we were to do lug covers for the for the direct bolt-on 10 lug 450s and 550s, we want to make it look a little bit bigger. We want to make it look kind of more to scale.
Sure.
So that's why we haven't done it. We have to design basically an entirely brand new lug nut, which again is all new tooling. I know it sounds really simple just to say, hey, I want a lug nut to look like this, but it's actually really difficult to design and make a whole new lug nut that no one's ever made before. So
Sure.
To answer your question, in the short term, there's going to be no solution other than maybe buying somebody else's lug nut. And if people want to know what the specs are so they can buy the right lug nuts, for sure they can call us. We'll give you all that information and the guys that we know that make it. But for us, I wouldn't say that we're probably going to have a solution this year, but it's absolutely on the radar to come up with some sort of better looking lug nut for the 10 lug. I mean, I think the ones that we have now look pretty good just because it's pretty plain and simple, but
Yeah.
I hear you. Anybody that wants a little bit more flash with those spikes, we've definitely got to come up with a solution. Steve and I have spent, I got to tell you, we're probably 10, 15 hours deep in coming up with a spike lug nut, and it's multiple pieces. And then we looked at each other and said, hey, all this stuff that we're trying to do to make it look simple, we're taking all of that out of it. So let's scrap this idea until a better one comes along.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Last thing we need is projectiles.
Yeah.
Flying in through.
Especially 3
Especially 40 of them.
giant spikes flying through the roadway.
Yeah, they're not rounded off either.
All right.
All right. Next question here. Are DDC wheels made in America, and are your wheels forged?
No and no. Yeah.
Just because
They're cast aluminum and they are built overseas.
But I want to say on top of that, with the cast aluminum and the forgings, I understand why people want forgings and all that stuff going forward. With this particular setup that you can buy from DDC, the load carrying capacity on these cast wheels is superior to, in our opinion and our knowledge that we have, everybody else's forged wheel. That's why we designed them the way that they did, and they have a special lug nut and there's certain thicknesses and the whole thing, so we can make sure that every DDC wheel that you buy and put on your truck, it not only meets, it exceeds the factory specifications for how much weight the truck can carry and or tow. So our wheels are above and beyond that. So that's to add to the no, they're not forged, and no, they're not made here. They're really good wheels still.
No, I would agree. I mean, how many wheels are actually made in America these days, anyways?
I couldn't tell you down to the number of wheels, but I can tell you that manufacturing wheels in the United States, there's maybe a few, and none of the guys that you sell on a daily basis or that are competition of us on a daily basis are made here.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it's right. I can think of one, but the price point that they're at is so astronomical, and it's such like a custom application that's not, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you which one it is?
I was just going to say, because a lot of those wheel companies that you're saying that they're built in the United States, they might be finished here, but the raw
Right.
forgings are generally come from overseas, and then it's a blank wheel. Then they bring it here, and they've got a CNC machine. They cut the design, they cut the bolt pattern, drill the bolt pattern, and all those things. So the wheel actually started its life overseas, and then came over here as a blank. And
Gotcha.
then now they're saying, yeah, built in America. Yeah, I built it here because it came in, on a pallet of other blanks, and then I cut them and I put them in a box, and there you go.
Gotcha. So the one I was thinking of was Innovate.
Oh, that's Jason's
Oh yeah,
Innovate Racing.
Jason, yeah.
Yeah, Jason's our buddy. Yeah, they're all done here. Matter of fact, the forgings are done up north. Jason does everything here. So when I was telling you earlier that there's only a couple manufacturers, they are forged manufacturers, but for the most part, right? Of course, I was going down the dually road rather than the beadlock and the badass 17-inch wheel road. But Jason's are 100% made here, no doubt. And by the way, Jason's our buddy. We've known Jason for many, many years.
Good.
And I know this may be a stupid question for some people, and I'm just going to say it for the people that are maybe thinking the same thing that are listening. Briefly, difference between forge versus cast. Like
Well,
like
a
the
couple
process
things,
as
Steve.
far as
Yeah, Steve, you say some stuff. I'll obviously say some stuff too, but you go ahead, Steve.
Well, basically, you've got a cast wheel is basically aluminum is it's been poured into a cast that has silicon and other materials in it to make a cast wheel, where a forged wheel is going to be a pressed wheel that is forged into the shape of, say, the blank, and then they lathe it all off and then finish it.
So a cast wheel starts as aluminum in a solid form. Then they put it in a big old heater and they melt it down and they pour it inside of a mold, right? So it's a I don't know
Solid
what
to a
analogy.
crucible, back to the
Right. And then you've got a forging that starts its life out as an ingot. Generally, they're about 8 to 10 inches in diameter, 6 to 8 to 10 inches in height, and you put them in a machine that squishes them down into a wheel. And we say down into, right? So you're starting with a pretty small piece of aluminum overall, and you just put an enormous amount of pressure on it to stretch it out to basically a plate. After it's a plate, then they put it in spinning machines and they spin kind of the barrel into the wheel. And it's still a solid form at this stage in terms of there's no design, there's no nothing in it. It's still a plate. And then after they have that, then they lathe it, then they heat treat it, then they lathe it. After it goes through those processes, then they CNC it. The cast wheel, you pour it into the mold. It comes out of the mold, and 90% of the work is done. 80%. The windows are already in it. The design's already in it. Take it out, heat treat it, lathe it, do a little bit of machining, like we do on our stuff. Not all guys do when cast wheels. Paint it, and it's done. So 2 completely different processes, but the end result, in terms of what they go on and how they attach, are the same. And then you've got load carrying capacities depending on how you're testing them after the fact. So I guess if you were to put a magnifying glass on a cast wheel and magnifying glass on a forged wheel, this is kind of the big selling point to the forging, I guess, is one is more porous than the other, right? Because you're squishing the aluminum, it's very, very dense.
Mhm.
And a cast wheel, because you're pouring it, it's going to be more porous. But that would probably be the best explanation to it, I think.
right. And then forged wheel, generally speaking, they usually run the barrels quite a bit thinner than you will on a cast wheel, because they say that you can, because of the strength. They're saying that the strength is better. So in a cast wheel, you compensate that with a little bit thicker. You use a little bit thicker material, and that's the way we were able to get some better load out of, especially our stuff.
Cool. All right.
Gotcha. That was actually a really good explanation. It's
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where, like,
Well, I think people see it, but
I
they
know-
don't actually like, oh, forge or okay, cool.
We
Sweet.
talk to people all the time, every single day, that come from tire shops, and they'll argue with us and tell us that our wheels are forged. But most people don't know the difference and wouldn't know what a forged wheel was if they were looking at it.
For sure. That's funny. Arguing with the manufacturer. I love that.
Yes.
No, it's not.
I can't even compare to that. It's like the one that comes to my mind is when someone calls it and says, this isn't stainless steel exhaust, and it's a 409
Yeah.
or something like that. This is I ordered aluminum. or something
I've
like
been
that.
working with metal for 35 years.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I haven't. And do you see the seam on there? Yeah, it's 409. You know what a 409? Like 409? I don't even know what 409 is, but I'm sure you could Google it and you could find out exactly what that means. and that's what you have in your hands. You're thinking of like 304, or you're thinking of like silverware.
Well, 300 series versus 400 series. Yep. Yeah. 400 series has more nickel in it. Yeah.
All right. So next question here. This, I know the answer to this one, but it's a question I'm going to ask anyways. Can you run the rear offsets on the front? I'm assuming they're not talking about a super single, but if
The
you
outside
have,
dually wheel
the
on the
outside
front?
dually wheel from DDC, can you run the outside dually wheel on the front?
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess you could do a lot of things, right? I mean, I guess, I don't know if you guys seen this on the news or not. I guess you can go rent a Tesla and jump it 50 foot in the air like they do out here in LA too, but it's probably not the smartest thing to do. No, being a smart ass. Will it bolt on there? Yeah, but it's not going to work, not even kind of designed for that. So could you bolt it on? Yes, but should you ever do that? It's the last thing on the world you should ever do. Last thing in the world, ever, never, ever.
Are the like normal factory dually wheels, are they able to do that?
Well, yeah, they are, but you have to turn them around, right? So,
Gotcha, yeah.
factory dually wheels are exactly the same. All 6 wheels are exactly the same. That way you can put that wheel in any position. But if you were to turn the wheel around and make it look like it's an outer and put it on the front, first of all, it's going to stick out about probably 15 inches farther than the rear one does, so it's going to look silly.
Yeah, none of the tire would be inside the fender.
Be all outside. Your scrub radius is just jacked at that point.
Right. It would just look goofy as all hell.
If you ran DDC wheels and you flipped them around, do the outers fit on the front? Or are they
The outer rear wheels?
No.
If you flip them
No,
around?
our wheels, there's a front wheel, an inner wheel, and an outer.
Okay.
Yeah, so they all have the same.
Come on, man.
Each one of our wheels has its own position. So, which by the way is with most aftermarket dually wheels, because of the offsets are so different than factory. Factory's whole point was to make sure that you can put every wheel in every position. Our stuff, to achieve the offsets and be able to put the tire size on there that you want, they each have their own spot and they have to stay there.
Gotcha.
Like, I think it'd be a great time to lead into the spare option we're about to do.
We are about to come out with a special cool little adapter kind of thing so you can buy an extra wheel from us, which would be an inner wheel, and that way you could use this inner wheel in any position if you needed a spare. It's one thing that people have asked us a lot over the last 2 years. Hey, what you guys are asking right now, how can we move a wheel somewhere else if we get a flat? And the answer has been a resounding no, right? I mean, if you wanted to buy a spare, technically you'd had to buy a front wheel, an inner wheel, and a rear wheel. Something went wrong. So now we're eliminating that. And we're coming up with this spacer where you can buy an inner wheel from us, and that inner wheel with this fancy little adapter, you're going to be able to put it on and put it in any position. So the answer is going to be yes. Now, this year you're going to be able to have an option for a spare with DDC.
Well, that's badass.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I asked that question now because I was going to skip it.
Yeah.
That's really
I didn't know where you
cool.
were going with it. I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't ask that one.
Yeah.
Man.
But
Kind of a dumb one.
again goes in tune with how in touch you guys are with the end user, because the fact that people have asked you about that, you're like, oh shit, we should.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, it's no joke. I mean, with Steve and Blake sitting back thinking about the 10-lug spike option for 15 hours, it was probably 20 hours, you know? But all these ideas we come up with, we just sit around and spitball for a long time to come up with them.
That's awesome. Next question. We've already kind of answered this one, but any plans for more designs? You guys have already confirmed yes.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Moving on.
At least one new one this year, right, guys? I mean, at least one. We might be able to knock out one more, but at least one new design. By the way, give us your opinion. We're wide open of what people want and like and what they're looking for. We're down.
Can I be in charge of naming it?
Absolutely. As long as it's not the glory hole. Anything other than that, we're probably pretty
Damn
good.
it.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of other things he might be naming it that we wouldn't want to use either.
I think it'd be like a 4-letter word or 4-letter name, the most glorious hole.
Yeah.
Well, I'm questioning where he spends most of his time on the internet, so that's why I'm kind of fearful what we might come up with.
Does that website domain start with donkey?
Listen, that was one time, all right?
I was going to Mexico. Someone told me to search it before I left. I regret it.
Damn it, I was in incognito mode. What the hell?
I didn't know I was going to get so much from band camp.
Oh gosh. Next question is this one's already been fairly answered as well, but it's will you ever consider making super single fronts to match your awesome dually wheels, and or will they ever make super singles? Actually, 2 people asked that question. Multiple did, but I put those 2 in there. Super single wheels for the single wheel trucks, and the answer is yes, 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 and yes.
And Ryan just bought a brand new truck that is an F350 or F250. Ryan, what'd you get?
Yeah, we bought an F250.
Okay, so Ryan's going to be running the super singles all the way around on it because it's a single rear wheel, right? So he'll have super singles all the way around on that. So again, in probably the next 60 days or so. So everybody will see what that gets, what that's going to look like.
Right.
I don't know if we should have said that in front of Tyler. I thought he was supposed to get the first ones.
Ooh, you remembered.
Well, say the first Ram one.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that every night since you mentioned that.
Instead of counting sheep, you're counting wheels.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we'll do then is we'll air freight over 2 sets, 1 set for Ryan, 1 set for you.
Yeah, they'll be aftermaths, but nonetheless.
God, I need to go use the bathroom.
Yeah, Tyler's got. He'll be right back.
There we go. Back to that donkey dot something. Huh?
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm trying to imagine when you guys got an oil company on and you're talking about lubricity.
Lube?
I gotta go to the
Lube.
Is this safe for human skin?
Yeah.
Straight up, man. Tell me. If it can make an engine run hundreds of thousands of miles, what can it do for me?
I mean, my body's basically an engine.
Yeah. I mean, my body has outlasted all my cars. So, hey.
Oh, geez.
There's your sales pitch right there. Your body lasts longer than your car. Buy our lotion. Schaefer's.
Do we really have to hit on question 6, by the way?
As much as you want to, or we can skip it.
What's question 6?
I don't know. I'll take a vote here from the DDC guys. There are 3 of you. You can vote yea or nay on that one.
Say it. What is it? Everybody, even I'm wondering what it is.
When are you gonna start making 1612s?
Everybody sit down.
16s.
Third day from
16 for what? You know, we need a follow-up question to this. What are we making 1612s for?
I don't know. I'm going to assume I'm going to take a couple liberties here because I also kind of want to see how you answer. But it says
have a set of 16s right now.
It says 16 by 12s. I'm assuming he means 16 wide or 12 wide type wheels.
That's a good assumption. So 16 wide, 7th day and never.
Mm-hmm.
12 wide. We're almost there with our 11s. So you can run the 11 instead of the 12.
Yeah, freaking round up.
Boom.
There you go.
It'll have a nice size lip on it. They'll never know.
Yeah.
Or she.
I got 11, but I keep them clean though. Yeah.
But if he actually meant 16-inch diameter and 12-inch width, then the follow up we need a follow up question to that. What the hell are they going on?
Probably
78 Ford.
Yeah, I was gonna say an OBS Ford, 100%. He's probably looking for some Weld Typhoons or something.
Yeah, it's the
probably-
only
he's
guy
probably-
will ask for that
He's
wheel.
probably rubbing his belly with his short shirt on and drinking a Pabst beer right now.
That would be me. What are you talking about? You're gonna give me so much shit.
Like you did have a mean mullet back in the day.
I had a glorious mullet.
Oh, there comes that word again.
See, there's something there, guys. There's something there.
Something there. Okay.
It was magnificent. How about that? A magnificent mullet.
Magnificent.
Scores is tremendous. Okay, last question. Honestly, I think this one's the best question because it applies to a lot of people. But best way to clean and polish aluminum wheels, and then follow-up question on that, recommendation as far as how to restore them after they've been corroded. So the first one, I would say, what's your best method as far as cleaning and maintaining DDC wheels?
I'll step in again. I probably shouldn't let the other guys talk, but just what you're washing the outside of your car with, right? I mean, you want to take care of your paint, you want to take care of your wheels, whether it's a black wheel on your truck or a polished wheel, hot water, regular soap, right? Not all this wheel cleaners. You don't want to use any of that shit. Just soap. Same thing you're gonna wash your paint with.
I'm assuming.
And then what we like to tell people is take the same detail that you're using, Mother's, spray on wax, and spray that on your wheel too.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
As far
obviously
as-
multiple brands on the market, but yeah, we've kind of always leaned towards Mother's.
And as far as if they've messed their wheels up, they're just going to have to get in there and hand polish them and get something with a little bit of compound to it and kind of work their way to a wax if they've damaged them. But
Yeah,
being that they're a raw wheel.
Yeah, they're not clear coated. The black wheel is clear coated. The polished wheel is not clear coated. It is raw aluminum.
Gotcha. So as far as like when you're talking about like maintaining the wheels, I know a lot of people will like wash trucks, but not necessarily spend the time on the wheels. Is that what you're talking about? Like, hey, if you're going to actually wash the truck, it's time for a good wheel detail too.
Well, that and what he's saying is use the same soap. So if whatever body wash that you're using with the side of the truck is the same body wash that you want to use on the wheels, and get them good and clean, and then put a good coat of wax on them, especially on the front wheels. Just because that's where a lot of the brake dust is and likes to eat through powder coats and finishes, especially when it starts to build up and get hot.
Gotcha. The follow-up question to that one, and this actually pertains to probably a lot of people like me as well, and this is going to key on to a lot of your guys' just wheel knowledge in general. But I mean, if you're someone like me who maybe bought a used truck and it had a set of aluminum wheels on there that are definitely I wouldn't say they're past their prime by any means, but they definitely have not been maintained for a long time. Do you have any kind of tips or tricks, or do you recommend just taking it to someone, or like what's your kind of like they're definitely like you cannot scratch it off with your fingernail type deal?
Sounds like time for a powder coat job.
Or you take it to somebody that's a professional, right? Because that's not you're not going to find somebody's Powerball or something like that and just be able to polish that stuff in your garage. There's going to need a lot more elbow grease, and there's going to be all kinds of sanding. If it's that bad, take it somewhere, or powder coat it, like you said. That's your best two options. Same thing with an Alcoa. I mean, you've seen trucks that are driving on the road that we're talking over the road trucks, right? The Alcoas look terrible. They got 1 million miles on them. Their gas tanks are terrible. They're not just going home and rubbing on some mother's wheel polish and cleaning those out. Somebody's coming out with a buffing wheel and cutters and all kinds of stuff to clean it up. Same thing with wheels.
Yeah.
And it sounds like with that type of thing too, it's a lot easier to spend a little bit of time maintaining them over the years rather than letting them get just absolutely effed and then trying to fix it afterwards.
A lot better off. Same thing with paint. Just paint on your truck too, right? You don't ever wash it or wax it. It's going to look like every 90 Chevy there was. All the paint's coming off the hood and the roof, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
You pretty much just answered my question because
I've already told you this.
I know. Me and Tyler talk about this shit almost every day.
Yeah.
But I've got a set of aluminum wheels on my Excursion that are definitely, like, I cleaned them up as best I could. I put the elbow grease into them. And I'm to the point now where I'm like, do I just live with the way they are now, or do I take them to like our local wheel guy to have him do like a solid service on them? And I think it's time for a service on them because I'm not quite. I don't mind the way they look. I'm not a fan of them. I wouldn't buy them, but if I have them, it's in my budget wise because I'm trying to do other stuff where it'd make more sense for me to just get them, good cleaning on them.
Oh yeah, with aluminum, I mean, once you get past a certain point, like you gotta like sand that down or use a really strong buffing compound to get down in there. Like my pontoon boat, I had my pontoons polished. Like they spent like 2 days doing those. It was, it's a process.
Yeah,
rubbing the pontoons, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, polished them up. Oh yeah, pontoon boat. That was
glorious
my first
pontoons.
boat. Yeah, that was fun. It looked good for a couple weeks.
Well, I got a couple more questions for you guys. Now we're going off script.
Oh,
you guys ready?
Oh, so ready.
Okay. Let's see.
this ought to be good.
I'd like to ask the mouth from the south something.
Oh shit!
Is Van Halen still your favorite band?
Will always be. Has been since since Moby Dick was a minnow. And will be until I'm gone.
You almost named one of your kids Halen, right?
I tried to name every single one of my kids Halen, and it didn't work. So I got an Alexandra for Alex. It was close, and then I got a Hayden, close to Halen, and then I got a Haley, which was also close to Halen. But and then my daughter. Listen to this. I have a grandson, my first grandson ever born. He was born on January 26th, Eddie Van Halen's birthday, and I said, "Kid, your name and your brothers and sisters' names are supposed to be Halen. Name that kid Halen. And they didn't name him Halen. So then my niece went and named her kid Halen. So yeah, there you go.
Right on, right on.
That's freaking
I love
awesome.
my niece.
Yeah.
I tried my whole life to have a child with the name of Halen, and it didn't work. So yeah, I'm a bit of a Van Halen fan.
I was just digging the fact that we haven't spoken to you guys on a podcast since November 1st, and you've been hanging on to that question that long.
Seriously. For
It
real?
dug in deep. I was
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
I could see that conversation. Halen, come on, babe. Halen, it'll be great. It'll be great. 20 years down the road, he won't regret a thing. It'll be Halen. It'll be great.
It's a great name. I love it.
I got a question. I just came up with it.
Mhm.
Are you guys a 2.5-inch spike guy, 4.5-inch spike guy, or a hex guy?
Combo for sure. 2.5 fronts, 4.5 back.
That's their most popular seller.
Is it?
And we like it too. That's what Steve running on his truck. I was running on my truck.
Hell yeah.
I like that. I think that that ratio does well, especially with them being kind of
Yeah.
inset on the back.
Yeah.
Have a nice little longer spike on there.
We're thinking about doing some other designs and that stuff too. So we'd like to hear some feedback on other. You guys have seen in the plastic world, right? They make a million different designs for lug covers,
Mm-hmm.
and in the billet world, it's a little tough because they're not cheap. You know, these things are very, very expensive to make. So we'd like to do a couple more designs in it, but I'd like to hear some feedback. You know, obviously you guys give us your opinion too, because right now we have the aluminum spikes and then the hex cover is stainless. Obviously that comes with all the wheels, but yeah, if you got some ideas that we can make out of billet, let us know what you'd like to see.
I'd honestly have to think about that because I mean, even like just with the 2 spike options that you guys have, like I just like when a customer gets that and like holds that in their hand, they just got to be like, "This is freaking awesome! Like, this is like a real like piece of metal right here. It's not
Yeah.
just a cheap little thin little piece of metal made into a spike. This is actually a machine piece, which I think is badass."
I
Yeah,
have
there's a
one.
little bit of work that goes in that thing. Right?
Yeah.
And then the bolt that it threads onto has got an O-ring on it, so everything stays nice and tight. And yeah, this isn't just some afterthought. There's a lot of thought went into that too.
Yeah.
So I think the only one that I've seen, and this may show my like naivety into dually trucks and stuff like that. 'Cause, like I get them, I respect them, but it like I don't have a ton of experience, right? But the look of like an extended lug nut, like it's the actual like you'd be able to put a wrench on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it sticks out 2 or 3 inches or something like that, with a nice finish on there. I think that's probably the only other one I can think of that I saw. I was kind of like, huh, that's different. I like that. But that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, there's guys out there that are making all kinds of different stuff, but just websites for it, right? And most of those are for the over-the-road trucks, the big semis.
Mm-hmm.
Like you walk into a Pilot or something, and there's 900 different kinds of lug covers that go in there.
Mhm.
And some guys want to do that. You can see some of the other brands they're using some of the other brands they're starting to cut their own stuff too. But just a thought, what people think about maybe doing something different and letting us know what they like.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or are you guys like two? I'm holding your 4.5-inch stud right now, or lug cover stud.
Well,
Spike.
that's
Spike.
I didn't know where that was going either. I was like, "Oof,
Yeah.
we're not in the same room." But what are you holding?
Yeah. You're like
Glory.
it seems like you're two drill action thing. I don't even know what to call it because I'm not in manufacturing. Of making this into a freaking like a wine aerator, being able to pour it in and come out the bottom.
Oh, you
Dual
lost me
use.
at wine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Should we drill all the way through so you can just pour your wine through it? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
yeah. 'Cause I was sitting there holding it by my fingertips here, and I was like, huh, that'd be kind of like a
Just double as a funnel for
like a
filling your
fancy
oil.
freaking shot glass. So you wouldn't be able to put it down though, but it'd have to be like have its own little holder
Yeah.
for your. I mean,
Kinda dope.
for your cough medicine and stuff, because drinking's bad, folks. Yeah, hold on.
Unless you do it every single day, stay committed.
Yeah. Yeah. Mama didn't raise no quitter.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Sounds like a country song you'd listen to, Tyler.
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right. Well, I think that's going to about wrap this one up. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. If people want to find you on the interwebs, or is there any last bits you guys want to get out there?
I know I've already talked to it way too much.
Yeah,
No, I think we'll have some good stuff for you in the next podcast. I think we'll be able to reveal what we're working on, and we look forward to that.
our website's ddcwheels.com. Duly designed CO on the social, but obviously make sure to visit ddcpowerproducts.com. And you guys get the product laid out great, so
Yeah,
appreciate that on the website.
Yeah, I made sure you got your whole product line on there, just waiting on those super singles. You guys can check out all DDC wheels at dieselpowerproducts.com. If you have any questions, feel free to call both of us, either DDC or us direct. Guys, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. It's always entertaining. I can't wait to actually meet some of you guys in person because I don't think I've met any of you guys in person.
You
Ryan?
met right. You
Have
met
I met
Houston.
Ryan?
I'm almost
Yeah,
positive.
it was Paul Rutledge.
I know I have. He wasn't with me that time. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I guarantee you. You've. I'm almost. I'd say.
Maybe one
I know
time.
I'm going back. I'm
Yeah.
pat back on here, but I'm like fairly certain you've met Houston before.
Okay.
All right,
Maybe.
I stole your train to close the podcast there, sorry.
No,
No,
no.
you're fine.
Actually, because I it's good because I have one last thing I totally forgot about. We do have a listener who has an absolutely fantastic F450 build going right now. Steve Pessy.
Is that
I
the
don't know if
mullet
I'm
guy?
with that.
Is that the mullet guy?
No,
Oh.
no. He's got a 2020 F450 with a set of DDC wheels on there and a Collie pin top kit.
Oh, right on.
And he is using that truck as God intended. He tows a trailer, he dirt bikes. He's out there doing all kinds of cool shit in God's country.
Hell
And
yeah.
I tell you what, man, Steve, this is your shout out, man. You asked me to give you a shout out. I almost forgot, but I didn't, so it still counts. But
I
yeah,
want to tell you about something real quick about Steve too. I'm the one that talked to Steve in the beginning.
Mhm.
Steve and I were working on a truck, and I'm telling you, what a fantastic, if you want to call it that. You know, I'm not a guy with real fancy words, but what an ambassador for DDC.
Mhm.
This guy's posted his stuff everywhere. He's taking picture of his truck. So Steve, you're the man. We appreciate you so much. Can't even tell you.
yeah. And the fact you're listening to the podcast, we appreciate you as well. And
Absolutely.
as we all know, I am a Ford guy, but especially folks that put the right parts on their truck and they use it what it's intended for.
Hell
Like
yeah.
Steve, I appreciate what you're doing out there. Keep posting those good pictures. If you want to follow Steve and see what a 2020 F450 looks like with a badass set of DDC wheels and a Collie pin top kit, make sure and follow him. It's his name is just Steve Pessy. So Steve and then P as in Paul, ESSY. Pump him up. I'm sure he's not even actually like looking for followers right now.
Right.
But go check out his page. He's got. If you want to see a cool truck, definitely check it out there. Let's close this thing up. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the DDC guys, Steve, Blake, and Ryan, for coming on the show again. This has been a lot of fun. As Tyler said, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. It's every time we start talking, it's like, are we still friends? I'm not sure if we're so. And then about 30 seconds in, and we're telling each other to F off. So it's just about my kind of people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, guys. Can't wait to do it again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Cool. Well, we will see you guys next time, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
See you guys.
See ya.
Okay, bye, guys. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, later.